Hello, Sharmen. Hey, your Marriage Recovery Center is enjoying a time of real growth. And of course, what that means is that people are finding us. They know that we have a lot to share with them about narcissism and emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse and trauma and all of those issues. And yet, we as a team, and you're an integral part of that team, we as a team are talking amongst ourselves about what can they realistically expect. I know so many of my videos, and I feel this way, so many of my videos are about that there really is hope. When if anybody is willing to show up at the Marriage Recovery Center, my goodness, they've taken a lot of effort to walk through the door, so to speak, and to meet with you, to meet with myself, to meet with our team. And I think you share this idea that if they're willing to come through the door and at least listen and participate in our process, then there is hope. And yet what we're going to share today is maybe some concerns, maybe some boundaries around what can they expect and what can't they expect. And I know you've given a lot of thought to this. So I and we would love to hear your thoughts. And of course, I'll interact with you about this. So what do you think about this? What can people expect when they take the effort of coming to the Marriage Recovery Center regarding these incredibly weighty issues?
Yeah, I tell people all the time that they've come to a really good place to meet them where they are, because we do believe that there can be change, that no one is a robot, that in every given moment, we have a choice to do something different than we did the moment before, the day before, the year before, but it all hinges on if they want to. And so, you know, we as a team here at the Marriage Recovery Center have all kinds of really good tools and approaches for helping you to know what another next step could be. But we also know that it's really up to you as the clients, to them as the clients, to decide what is it they really want to do with it. And so I think where we butt heads sometimes is they come with so much hope and expectation, and we wish we had a magic wand that just said, poof, you're changed, you're different. And yet it requires the work of actually getting in and training yourself to do something different. But this probably is the best opportunity to come to somewhere that has like key tools that can actually help you walk this out differently.
That reminds me of concepts that we learned in graduate school in our training. And the two concepts are static versus dynamic. Static meaning, you know, it's cut and dried, it's carved in stone, it is what it is. And then you and I, of course, and our team believes, no, there's nothing etched in stone here. It's all dynamic. And the cool thing, there's a saying out there, Sharmen, when one thing changes or when we change, everything changes. So I love your idea that in the moment, if we are different in this next moment, then the possibility of everything or everyone else, their mate, their family, whoever we're talking about, it's a mobile. When one part changes, every part has the possibility of changing for the better. But again, it's not a magic wand. It's not, people need to be careful that they don't walk in our door and go, okay, we're going to fix everything. But it's not static, it's dynamic.
And it requires participation. So one of the things clients can expect is that we give them homework to do. You know, if they read our stuff long enough, they'll see that we don't really believe that 1 hour a week sessions, especially for couples, does anything. It's more information. But if you don't do anything with that information, it doesn't change anything. I don't care what the Schoolhouse Rock song is. Knowledge is not power if you don't do anything with it. And so doing something with that. And so we give homework. There's an expectation that outside of meeting with us, they'll actually be putting to work some things that will change the trajectory of where they're going. And if they don't do that work, if they choose to just keep doing what they're doing, they're going to end up where they've always been.
So you work largely with women. I know you work with couples and men too. I work largely with men, but with women and couples too. And men, I'm going to tell you from a man's point of view what they seem to be thinking. You can tell us about women and how we might challenge them. Men are kind of going like, wait a second, what, why is it all up to me? And I say to them, it's not all up to you. She's doing her work too, but there's some things that you can do. And if you will do your part, she is more likely to do her part. But you really can only clean your side of the street. But guess what? You clean your side of the street, and then what's left over, it is likely to be her side of the street. So don't get too focused on, well, it's a 50-50 proposition. It's 100 and 100. You do 100% of your work, and she'll probably do 100% of her work. But again, you change, sir, and she is likely to change as well. But they get hung up there, don't they? At least men do. Do women get hung up?
Which I understand, because by the time they've come to see us, their wives are not very likable to them, right? So they've learned to respond in really big ways that don't feel good. But what I usually tell them is, most often it is the women that have found us and dragged their spouses here, meaning most often it is the women who are bothered enough by the relationship to shake it up. And so these men, most often, can go both ways, but most often it's not the man who was bothered enough by what was going on in the relationship to come and seek change. And so for him to then point the finger at her and say, well, she's got something she has to change too. I'm like, dude, if you were upset enough about her behavior, how come you're not the one setting the stage? So let's just go back to, let's work on your side of the street and see what happens. Although I also tell them they have to make room for the element of trauma, that where there's sin, there's death. And there are things that have happened in this relationship that their wives may take a very long time to recover from. And we're going to be doing the work to address that trauma so that she can respond differently. But most often her behavior towards you that you don't like is a response that she's come to learn to live in because of how you've set the stage. So let's focus on that, and I'll help her with her healing, and hopefully we can bring some reconnection at the other side.
I want to talk about something a little bit edgy here that we've run into. So, at MRC, we're expanding our programs. Used to be just men's core, women's redeemed. That's it. Sharmen, that we are now saying, well, wait a second, we can add dialectical behavior therapy to our regimen of different treatment processes. We're talking now about women's core. We're talking about advanced women's core. There's some women, I'm going to gasp, that are saying, wait a second now, you shouldn't be expecting me to do more work. And I don't know, it's a difficult topic, because some of the men do come to me and say, I get it. I gotta work on my abusive behavior, and I'm doing that. But she's become an angry, bitter person. Do I have the right to set some boundaries on that? Not controlling her, but can I ask her to participate in some therapy to work on her issues? And some women kind of go, whoa, wait a minute. No, out of bounds. What are your thoughts?
So I get it. Men don't like to be yelled at and told what to do and dragged to therapy and then told they're not doing enough. Like, I get all of that. They still need to be doing their work. The reason it feels unfair for most wives to be told they have work to do because of the trauma, because they have done an extensive amount of work and spent acres of time already feeling like they've tried to fix this, that feels like their spouses are still missing the point, and it's no recognition of the work that they've already done. All they're pointing to is the current behavior that's rocking the boat, right? So I just remind the husbands, yes, boundaries are fair. We all have boundaries. We might not call it boundaries, but we don't hang out with people we don't like. Those are boundaries, right? That's essentially what a boundary is. So if he can't maintain his composure with his wife, it does behoove him to get himself to a place where he can. But to expect her to have to be the one to make it so he can stay with her, like, that's still putting the weight of responsibility on her. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, yes, she has a lot of healing to do. And so my focus with a lot of the women is, I've started calling it sort of this emotional self-defense boot camp, where it's so much of their world is about trying to make their environment safe. But in reality, we'll never make it safe enough because we can't control the environment, the people, our spouses. We can't control that. However, there is a lot we can do to be more steadfast in our own sense of self as we bring ourselves to the table in any of those environments. And so, working on getting healthy, that is her work to do. Coming out of that place where she doesn't feel like a caged animal backed into a corner with no choices. Right? So getting her footing, and the healthier she gets, yes, the more healthy she's going to be towards her spouse, not reacting in such ugliness. But again, that's not going to fix the relationship. That's just her learning to bring herself to the table. And in actuality, he might not like that either, because now she's going to learn how to speak up for herself. She's going to know how to hold to her own boundaries. And she may be done enough to be DONE done. And they just have to talk about, well, how do we make this work as we go our separate ways? So there's that element of it too. But yes, do they have a right to expect their wives to treat them differently? Yes, we all do. However, what is it they're really asking of their wives? Fix this for me so I don't have to feel bad? It's not her job to do that.
So, yeah, I love what you're saying. So we have all agreed as a team that as much as is possible, we're going to help couples heal together.
Yes.
His healing, her healing. I agree with you completely. I have found really, essentially without exception, that when he has really, I've got some guys who are working so hard. They've gone through the core 14 weeks, they've gone through my advanced core 14 weeks, doing individual work with me, coming here for a personal intensive. I've got some real superstar guys. And I would say, Sharmen, without exception, when men really, really, really do their work, women, the issues kind of fall away, and she starts to become more emotionally regulated as well. She starts to have better boundaries. That said, in our Healing Together comprehensive program at MRC, we do have some places for her to learn emotion regulation. We have some places for her to learn distress tolerance. We have some places for her to learn nonviolent communication. And that you're okay with that, correct?
Totally, yeah, because those are all skills that enable her to be strong and steadfast no matter what the environment is. So definitely. And
I think what we're going to see, I predict that we're going to see more and more. I mean, we are, as far as we can tell, we're maybe the only place in the nation where we're saying he really can change, doesn't always, but can. There's an opportunity if he'll show up, if he'll do the work. She certainly can heal. We believe in that. And if they'll both do their individual work at the right time in the right way, we come together, we bring them together to do good couples work. And we won't talk about it here now, but you and I both agree that there are certain skills even needed before a couple can do couples counseling. But we believe that there is healing together that can happen ultimately. And I'd love to hear you speak to that, because that is really, I think every woman that calls in, every couple that comes, underneath it all, they're really saying, man, is there a way for us to have a healthy relationship? We've got kids together. We've got a house. We belong to a church. We believe in this, and the world is saying no, we can't have it. And we believe they can heal together from narcissistic and emotional abuse.
Yeah, I totally. The history they bring to the table is an important factor. Even if that history has been full of immaturity and narcissism and abuse and nonsense, like every story comes to the table with that to some regard. So even if there's been that, there's still a chance for there to be redemption. But it does mean looking at what is destructive and turning from it and deciding to link arms in such a way that this marriage becomes back-to-back, swords out, fighting the enemy together. And it takes a lot to get to that point, especially with the trauma that's been done in the relationship. But I have numerous couples where their history together has been rather horrendous, like huge sin in the relationship. And yet they put that stake in the ground to say, I want the rest of my life to be a different story, and I'm willing to do the work to walk that out. And they do. And so I do get to see those stories of redemption. But I will tell you, it takes a totally different mindset of how we approach the world. And that mindset has to be from a place of humility, a place of vulnerability. You probably hear me say all the time that recovery requires coming out of hiding. Narcissism is hiding. Codependency is hiding. They're on this spectrum of hiding. And what is healthy is somewhere in the middle where you're not hiding anymore. Like narcissism is about hiding by taking and taking and taking from the world around them. They make their world safe. They get what they want by taking from everyone around them. The higher they are on that scale, the more they're taking and using the people around them. Codependency is about hiding by giving and giving and giving. Like their whole world is about making everyone else happy or pleased or whatever, but it's still hiding. The real them isn't showing up to the table. Healthy is somewhere in the middle where they come out of hiding and they learn give and take, but they learn to do it in a manner that this is about doing life together so that we're not alone, but you're not trying to make the other person be something for you, do something for you to fix your world, because they can't. It's just that you don't have to do life together. Ultimately, vulnerably, intimately, open, not in hiding, just like back to what it was supposed to be in the Garden of Eden, right? So that's my philosophy.
I love it. And I would just add, for anybody that's coming to the Marriage Recovery Center, while we don't have all the answers, none of us are proclaiming that. We have a lot of experience now. Sharmen, you and I have been working together for years now, and we're knee deep, we're waist deep in these issues. And I think we know something. So if we can get a man and a woman who will come in the door, like you say, with humility and transparency and be teachable, we've got skills. We've got DBT program. We've got women's core. We've got men's core. We've got women's advanced. We've got redeemed. We've got programs, but they do have to come in and say, all right, we'll trust you. We'll follow your leadership. And we need that. And we've had people who have said, I'll come in and work with you, but no, I'm not sure I'm going to follow your leadership. And that doesn't work. But if they'll follow our leadership, you are incredibly skilled. We've got other skilled clinicians, and we have a program. We have programming for those that want to change and grow and become healthy and strong, emotionally mature individuals and ultimately couples. All right, last thoughts for those that are considering coming to MRC for such needed help.
So last thoughts, I would say, some things to consider is that we at the Marriage Recovery Center are very aware of secondary abuse And we do work to be cautious about that, aware that, especially from a framework of trauma, it is very easy to see a threat in everything. And so we try to be very cognizant of that. And so, when you come here, we do want you to know that we want to protect you in that. And so if you're feeling that, we want to hear about it so that we can help you process it. But know that we are aware, like, we understand the dynamics of emotional abuse. We know that out there, your spouse is a different person than they are with you, and that even with us, they're different. And so we want to, be able to even come alongside you in that space to say, here's a good way to process that as you're working on your own healing, working on the marriage healing, trying to see change, all of that stuff. So that would be one thing to consider. Another thought is that we do work as a team here. So, I'm not trained in DBT, for example, but we have people on staff here who are. And so if that looks like it could be a huge need in your life, I'm going to refer you to them. Not that I want to be done with you, but just that they're better skilled in that and can totally help you. So, all of us work as a team here. We do kind of bring the same approach and philosophy. And so you're not going to get lost. Plus, the Bible says there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. So here you go, a multitude of counselors to draw from who understand emotional abuse and can help you through this. And my other last thought would be is we are for you. So even you husbands that come here feeling beat up and feeling like we're beating you up as well, we are for you and for this marriage. And we really love to see marriages redeemed. And so trust the process and try to see what it is that we're speaking to you. Because like I said, we've got all kinds of tools that can help you should you decide to step into them and walk them out.
I love it. My last thought, Sharmen, is it's very similar to what you just said. We want to partner with everyone who walks in the door. And just like when you go to a medical doctor or any other specialist, you're very clear about what you want and what your expectations are. And we would ask you to be very clear with us. What are you expecting? And we'll tell you, yes, we can fill that expectation, or, maybe we can't. And let's dialogue about it. So by the time we're done with the first session or the first marriage evaluation, we will be very clear with you about here's what you can expect from us. And maybe here's what you can't. But yeah, I agree with you. Know that we're for you. We're for marriage. We're for being healthy. And it's incredibly exciting. And we look forward to working with everybody who believes in us enough to call us and walk through the door.